Kaitlin Armstrong, Jealousy, Murder, and Escape. The Case of Kaitlin Armstrong, 2024's Runaway Murderer. Part 1. Beneath the surface of love lies obsession, and sometimes that obsession turns deadly. In the glittering suburbs of Austin, Texas, where mansions stretch wide and wealth settles thick on every lawn, Anna Moriah Wilson stood out. Young, beautiful, fiercely competitive, Moriah, known as MO to friends, had risen fast in the world of elite cycling. At just 25 years old, she had already outpaced veterans twice her age. Sponsors lined up. Magazines featured her. Olympic dreams whispered in the air. But fame has a way of attracting shadows. In May 2022, Moriah traveled to Austin for a race, a quick trip, a friendly visit. She stayed with friends, biked the city's winding trails, smiled through casual interviews. On the surface, it was another step in her unstoppable career. Beneath the surface, danger brewed. A danger that had a name: Kaitlin Armstrong. Kaitlin Armstrong, 34, was not a stranger to the Austin scene. A yoga teacher, real estate agent, and wellness entrepreneur, Kaitlin had built a persona based on calmness, balance, inner peace. But looks can be deceiving. Behind closed doors, Kaitlin's world was unraveling. She was dating Colin Strickland, a professional cyclist himself, a man whose past romance with Moriah had left cracks in Kaitlin's trust. And cracks, once formed, only deepen with time. In the weeks leading up to the murder, friends described Kaitlin as tense, paranoid, possessive. She checked Colin's phone obsessively. She questioned every text. She monitored his social media, hunting for any hint that Moriah was still a part of his life. And she found more than hints. The night before Moriah's death, Colin and Moriah met up. A friendly evening, swimming at a local pool, casual conversation, a stop for burgers on the way home. Innocent, but not to everyone. When Moriah returned to her friend's apartment, she texted Colin, thanking him for the night. She showered. She relaxed. Moments later, a dark figure approached the apartment. Neighbors didn't hear screams, only faint noises, barely enough to register. When Moriah's friend returned, she found her lying cold on the floor, shot multiple times. Moriah, the shining star, was gone. Police acted fast. Surveillance footage showed Kaitlin's Jeep circling the apartment. Ballistics matched the gun registered to Kaitlin's name. And Colin, under the weight of interrogation, revealed the tangled relationship connecting all three. A warrant was issued. Detectives believed they had their suspect, a crime of jealousy clear as day. But when they went to arrest Kaitlin Armstrong, she was gone. Gone like smoke in the wind. The hunt began. Part 2. When police arrived at Kaitlin Armstrong's last known address, they expected a confrontation, an arrest, maybe even a confession. What they found was an empty house. No Kaitlin, no car, no sign of where she had gone. The only clue? Her black Jeep Grand Cherokee, abandoned near the Austin airport, keys still dangling from the ignition. It was a silent scream to investigators. She was already gone. But how? No plane tickets in her name. No official travel records. It was as if she had melted into the night itself. What few knew at the time was that Kaitlin Armstrong had been preparing. Long before the murder, she had studied international travel loopholes. She understood how to disappear, really disappear, in a world obsessed with surveillance. Fake names, cash-only hotels, untraceable phones. And most chilling of all, she understood what it took to change her very face. While authorities scrambled to issue wanted posters and news bulletins, Kaitlin was already slipping across the border. First to New Jersey, then a commercial flight to Costa Rica. No alarms raised, no red flags triggered. She was just another tourist, another blonde woman seeking beachside sunsets. Costa Rica, paradise for some, a hiding place for others. In the small coastal town of Santa Teresa, tourists came and went by the hundreds. Surfers chasing the perfect wave, nomads chasing Instagram dreams. It was the perfect camouflage for a fugitive. Kaitlin Armstrong checked into a hostel under a false name, claimed to be a yoga instructor, Fitting, perhaps, for someone who once made a living preaching inner peace while harboring a killer's rage inside. She dyed her hair dark brown. She started wearing large hats and heavy sunglasses. And most shockingly, she underwent plastic surgery. Witnesses later recalled that Kaitlyn looked off. Her facial features altered, her cheeks swollen, her nose slightly reshaped. It was clear she had used cash to pay a back-alley surgeon who asked few questions and cared even less about the law. A new face, a new life, a new chance to outrun justice. Meanwhile, back in the United States, the manhunt grew desperate. U.S. Marshals issued a $5,000 reward. Interpol got involved. Every airport, every seaport, every travel hub was alerted. But weeks turned into months. Public fascination exploded. Social media called her the yoga killer. Some glamorized her escape. Some compared her to infamous fugitives like D.B. Cooper and the legendary bank robbers of old. But beneath the sensational headlines lay a simple truth. A young woman, Anna Moriah Wilson, had been brutally murdered, and her killer walked free under the sun. It wasn't a mistake that caught Kaitlyn. It was pride. Feeling emboldened by her successful vanishing act, she started to slip. She applied for jobs. She spoke too openly about her past. She even tried to open a yoga studio in Costa Rica under her new identity. And then in late June 2022, an anonymous tip came in. Someone recognized her. The strange American woman with the half-healed face who never quite fit in. Costa Rican police moved swiftly. They raided the hostel. They found Kaitlyn hiding in plain sight. When they asked for her name, she gave a fake one. Calm, almost serene. But the fingerprints didn't lie. It was Kaitlin Armstrong, the runaway murderer, caught. Part 3, The Return to America. Escorted by heavily armed officers, Kaitlyn was flown back to the United States. Gone were the beaches. Gone were the sunsets. Now, only cold steel bars and fluorescent lights greeted her. Her trial wouldn't come until 2024. But the world watched, breathless, waiting to see what excuses she would offer. Jealousy? Self-defense? Insanity? As the court proceedings began, journalists flooded the courthouse steps. Inside, Kaitlyn sat stiffly between her attorneys, wearing a simple blouse, her hair pulled tight. Gone was the plastic surgery swelling. Gone was the Costa Rican tan. In its place, a mask of cold calculation. Prosecutors laid it out clearly. Timeline. Motive, evidence, her Jeep's movements, the ballistic matches, witness statements from those who had seen her simmering jealousy boil over again and again. The defense tried to cast doubt, suggested others might have had access to her vehicle, questioned the forensic integrity, but the evidence was overwhelming. And then the final blow. Kaitlyn Armstrong's own phone pinged in the exact locations as the murder scene and the escape route. Cold. Hard. Inevitable. After days of deliberations, the jury returned. The room held its breath. Guilty. On all counts. Kaitlyn Armstrong, once a rising star of Austin's wellness scene, was now destined to spend the majority of her life behind prison walls. Sentenced to 90 years. Justice, in the end, found her. Part 4, Reflections. But in the aftermath, questions lingered. What truly drove Kaitlyn Armstrong to kill? Was it simple jealousy? Or something deeper? A fracture in her mind? A boiling rage she masked behind yoga mats and Instagram quotes? And what does it say about us? That some cheered her escape? That some glamorized her, painted her as a rebel, even a folk hero? Moriah Wilson's family didn't see a glamorous outlaw. They saw a stolen daughter. A bright light extinguished for nothing more than bruised pride. No matter how far Kaitlyn ran, no matter how many surgeries she endured, she could never change one simple, brutal truth. Murder leaves scars that no blade can heal. Jealousy killed Moriah Wilson. Cowardice carried Kaitlyn Armstrong across borders. But justice finally brought her home. Part 5. Inside Kaitlyn Armstrong's mind. What makes a person snap? Is it a single moment, one flash of anger? Or 1,000 small cracks, growing deeper over time? Psychologists who studied Kaitlyn Armstrong's case suggested something chilling. This was not a crime of passion. It was a crime of control. Friends described Kaitlyn as meticulous. Every yoga session planned to the second. Every dollar accounted for. Her social media painted a picture of perfection. Sunsets, smoothies, smiling faces. But perfection is fragile. Beneath the surface, jealousy brewed like a slow poison. Those who knew her said she feared losing control over her relationship with Colin Strickland. Feared being replaced by a younger, faster, brighter woman. Moriah Wilson wasn't just competition on a bike trail. She was competition for Kaitlyn's entire future. When she learned Colin and Moriah had seen each other again, even innocently, it shattered her carefully constructed world. In her mind, there was no room for second place. Not in life, not in love. And so she made a decision. A permanent one. The most chilling thing wasn't the murder itself. It was the planning that followed. The escape. The cash withdrawals. The knowledge of which airports would search less, which hostels didn't ask questions. It wasn't rage that carried Kaitlin Armstrong to Costa Rica. It was cold calculation. Part 6. A family's grief. For the Wilson family, there are no happy endings. No closure, as TV shows like to promise. Only an empty chair at family dinners. Only birthdays celebrated with tears instead of cake. Moriah Wilson's parents, Chris and Karen, spoke briefly at the trial. Their voices breaking, their hands trembling. Karen described Moriah as sunlight in human form. Someone who lit up every room, who pushed herself harder than anyone else. Not for fame, but for the pure love of the sport. She was supposed to travel the world, win medals, maybe even stand on an Olympic podium someday. Instead, she was buried in a small, rain-soaked cemetery in Vermont, far from the sunny Texas roads where her life was stolen. Grief, they said, is not linear. It is a spiral, a long, endless fall. No trial, no verdict could pull them back to the life they had before. Their daughter was gone. Forever. Part 7. The public obsession. Why do we, as a society, become obsessed with fugitives like Kaitlin Armstrong? Was it her good looks? Her daring escape? The irony of a yoga teacher, a symbol of peace, becoming a murderer? Social media exploded during the manhunt. Memes circulated of Kaitlyn in sunglasses, captioned, "Catch me if you can." True crime forums speculated wildly about where she might be. Some romanticized her. Some even rooted for her. It's an uncomfortable truth. Sometimes the public sees criminals, not as villains, but as anti-heroes. There's a dark seduction in the idea of vanishing, starting over, beating the system. But it's a lie. Kaitlin Armstrong wasn't a freedom fighter. She wasn't a rebel. She was a killer, one who left devastation in her wake. Still, the fascination remains. Every headline, every TikTok theory, every whispered rumor in coffee shops across the country. We can't look away. Part 8. The manhunt behind the scenes. The search for Kaitlin Armstrong wasn't just luck. It was a race against time, and the agents chasing her knew it. Behind closed doors, U.S. Marshals pieced together a profile. Knowledgeable about travel. Able to live simply. Good at blending into new environments. Dangerous when cornered. They tracked every bank withdrawal. They studied every flight manifest. They scoured hostile registries around Central America. For weeks, nothing. Dead ends. False leads. And then, a stroke of luck. A man staying at a hostel in Santa Teresa recognized Kaitlyn. He didn't know her real name, but he knew fear when he saw it. The woman kept to herself. She refused to talk about her past. She always wore hats, even indoors. She paid in cash. And when he saw a news clip on his phone, he knew instantly. She didn't belong. The tipster risked his own safety to call authorities. Within 24 hours, Kaitlin Armstrong's life of freedom ended with handcuffs digging into her wrists. Pause. Behind every capture is a web of unseen heroes. Part 9. Life behind bars. Today, Kaitlin Armstrong lives a very different life. Gone are the yoga mats. Gone are the ocean views. Gone is the Instagram perfect persona. She is prisoner number 0334561. Her days are monotonous. 6 a.m. wake-up call. Cold cafeteria breakfast. Work duties, Laundry, kitchen shifts, maintenance. Her fellow inmates know her story. Some admire her for her brief escape. Most resent her. In prison, there's no hiding behind fake smiles or edited selfies. The walls are bare. The eyes are sharp. And every night, when the lights go out, Kaitlin Armstrong is left alone with one inescapable truth. She traded her freedom for a few fleeting weeks on the run. Was it worth it? Only she can answer that. Part 10. Final Reflections. Kaitlin Armstrong's story will be studied for years. True crime podcasts will dissect every move she made. Television specials will dramatize her escape. But at the heart of it all lies a simple, heartbreaking tragedy. A young woman full of dreams was murdered. Not for money, not for revenge, but for love twisted into something unrecognizable. If there is any lesson here, it's this. Obsession is not romance. Control is not love. And rage, once unleashed, leaves nothing but ash behind. Moriah Wilson's story deserved a different ending. One of triumph. One of celebration. Instead, we are left with echoes of what could have been. Justice may have caught Kaitlin Armstrong, but no verdict, no sentence can truly heal the wound she left behind. The end.